What's up, everybody? I'm Seth Macy, and this is the Weekly Fix, where we round up all the gaming and entertainment headlines from the last week. On the gaming side, Elden Ring's character creator is impressing fans, and Sony's solution to the PS5 shortage has been revealed. In the entertainment world, The Batman, starring Robert Pattinson, has received its official MPAA rating, and we've got some news on cut characters from Spider-Man: No Way Home. So much to talk about, so let's hop right on in.
Footage of Elden Ring's character creator has been leaked by YouTuber ERSA, and fans are excited and surprised by how in-depth the new creation system is. Unlike Dark Souls and Bloodborne, the character creator allows for natural human characters with significantly high graphic qualities compared to Dark Souls 3 and Bloodborne. Tons of slider options allow for significant customization, from altering nose, cheeks, chin, and brows to create natural features or eccentric and hilarious creations. Fans have been reacting very positively to the leak, celebrating the possibility of making monstrous characters to their heart's delight. In fact, fans are so happy with From Software's graphic fidelity upgrade that the game is now Steam's top wish-listed game. As spotted by Eurogamer, the upcoming action RPG slated for a February 25th release is now many players' most wanted game, and with world-building elements by Game of Thrones novelist George R.R. Martin, and it being directed by Souls creator Hidetaka Miyazaki, we can really sense the excitement as we count down to Elden Ring's launch next month. Hey, by the way, that still gives you enough time to complete Dying Light 2 first. Just saying. Moving on, in one of gaming history's biggest acquisitions, Take-Two, the parent company of Rockstar, and 2K announced it has entered into an agreement to buy mobile game developer Zynga in a massive $12.7 billion deal. This deal is even bigger than Microsoft's Bethesda's buyout. Think about that. In a press release, the two companies agreed that Take-Two will acquire all of Zynga's shares and take ownership of the company, with Take-Two purchasing those shares with a combination of cash and Take-Two's own stock. Now, while this news may not seem super interesting to some, to GTA and Red Dead fans, it may be very important. During an investor presentation following the announcement, a Take-Two spokesman discussed the potential of the studios being used in conjunction with one another. That could mean that Take-Two's ambition is to bring its console PC properties to mobile and add new game modes, while also driving free-to-play capabilities cross-platform to supercharge studios like 2K and Rockstar. Take-Two CEO Strauss Zelnick went on to expand on the presentation, stating, "Perhaps more importantly, we have the ability with Zynga from both a development and publishing point of view to optimize the creation of new titles based on Take-Two's core intellectual property. We believe we have the best collection of console and PC intellectual property in the interactive entertainment business, and it's basically nearly entirely unexploited for mobile and free-to-play around the world." Although Zelnick didn't say which specific franchise would be in line for a mobile port or which would get an original release on mobile, one thing is for sure: Take-Two plans to dramatically increase its number of core titles to a whopping 19 games in the next 3 years. That's a lot of games. I don't know about you, but that is a lot of games, and I'm excited for that. And finally, the developers behind Dying Light 2 have confirmed that it will take at least 500 hours to fully complete the game. That is a lot of hours. Developers Techland shared the statistic on Twitter, joking that the time completion would take almost as long to walk from Warsaw to Madrid, with some fans becoming uneasy at the daunting task that awaited them. Techland responded to fans' fears by saying that they were only referring to the amount of time needed to reach 100% completion, doing literally everything in the game. If players just want to finish the main story and do some side quests, it should take about 100 hours, minimum 70 to 80 hours. Now, some of you may be wondering if this number seems outrageous, but I gather there are also some that are pumped and ready for the challenge. I salute you. Dying Light 2 is set to be released next month on February 4th. According to Tokyo-based industry analyst Dr. Serkan Toto, Mario Kart 9 is currently in active development and will have a new racing twist that could be teased later this year. When writing his predictions for GameIndustry.biz, Dr. Toto stated how new Mario Kart games regularly include a twist on the karting formula, like Mario Kart 8's anti-gravity section or Double Dash two-character karts. Although no further details were added to the statement, it didn't stop fans from theorizing on social media what the next installment could be. Some fans are looking forward to Mario Kart Racing with characters from Sonic and Diddy Kong Racing, while others are hoping for maybe an F1 Race Stars game element added into the game. In addition to Toto's prediction on Mario Kart 9, it was also suggested that 2022 could be the year Nintendo brings another of its franchises to smart devices again. Toto stated Nintendo has been very silent since Mario Kart Tour's launch in 2019, so this could be the year that changes that. Moving on, E3 2022 is officially cancelled for its in-person event, and the digital show remains uncertain. According to a statement shared with IGN by ESA, due to the ongoing health risks surrounding COVID-19 and its potential impact on the safety of exhibitors and attendees, E3 will not be held in person in 2022. We remain incredibly excited about the future of E3 and look forward to announcing more details soon. At this time, the future of the show this year and beyond remains uncertain, as no date is set even for a digital showcase. ESA followed up with IGN stating that it could not confirm at this time whether or not there would be a digital event this year to replace the cancelled in-person event. This is no surprise, as the new Omicron variant of COVID saw a record number of cases, while ongoing concerns about testing availability and mask mandates have made conversations dicey for the foreseeable future. E3's 2022 show never had a formal date set and was never on the Los Angeles Convention Center calendar, despite previous shows being scheduled over a year in advance. Whether or not E3 happens at all this year, Jeff Keighley just announced Summer Game Fest would return this year in the summer, so we at least have something to look forward to. And finally, Battlefield 2042 subreddit warns that it will not hesitate to shut down the online space for some time if the level of toxicity on the feed doesn't simmer down. Yikes. As reported by PC Gamer, the warning comes after a wave of outrage in response to a now deleted tweet by EA Global Comms director Andy McNamara. The tweet had been made in response to the Battlefield community criticizing DICE for lack of communication and further improvements to the game throughout the end of December, during a period of vacation for the holidays for most of the studio staff members. McNamara stated in his tweet, "Back to work today, check Reddit and Twitter, and Battlefield fans are pissed we didn't do enough updates or communication over the holiday break. Guys, people gotta rest. We have things in motion, but we have to figure out what is possible. Let us get back from break and get back to work. Love you guys, but these expectations are brutal. The things you want take time to scope, design, and execute." The statement was posted on Battlefield 2042 subreddit, which seemingly accelerated into insults from the public and prompted the moderation team to get involved. McNamara has since removed his original tweet and comments, opting to apologize to fans for not making his message clear, which caused even more angry responses. Tensions between Battlefield's community and DICE have been on the rise since the launch of Battlefield 2042 due to bugs, glitches, and changes to gameplay which have been met with criticism. Other factors like perceived missing features and a leaked Santa Claus-themed holiday skin have also sparked hostility from the community. While DICE has worked to improve the overall experience of the game for players, the rise in toxic behavior from the game's fanbase has been a point of contention. The moderation team for Battlefield subreddit has issued its first warning. Ditch the insults or else the forum could be placed into lockdown. This isn't something new either, as the moderation team behind our Halo subreddit issued a temporary lockdown after the team declared the toxicity had reached a breaking point and was increasingly exponentially making it impossible for people to have a civil discussion. Let's hope those involved in posting insults and targeted messages of harassment can heed the warning before it's too late. In order to circumvent the ongoing global PlayStation 5 shortage, PlayStation has come up with a new plan to fill the supply vacuum and get gamers to stay within the PlayStation ecosystem. A report from Bloomberg says sources from an assembly partner were directed by Sony to plan to produce more PlayStation 4s through 2022, despite having had plans to discontinue assembly at the end of 2021. The strategy indicated roughly 1 million PlayStation 4s would be added to help with the fact that the global chip shortage has severely impacted the production of PlayStation 5 thanks to challenges arising from the COVID-19 pandemic. Depending on the demand, the number of PlayStation 4s produced could be adjusted. The decision to execute this plan was reached because older consoles use less advanced chips and are simple to make and budget-friendly for consumers compared to the PlayStation 5. Sony confirmed that PlayStation 4 production would continue throughout 2022 and denied planning to discontinue the assembly of its previous console. Moving on, God of War is coming to PC, and many are very impressed with the game's new port. Almost 4 years after arriving on PlayStation 4, God of War will finally hit PC, and those who got a first look at the game are already praising the port for potentially being visually better than its PlayStation 4 counterpart. With a slightly more refined experience, not dramatically different from its previous version, the PC port is a lot more stable with consistent frame rate and spot-on performance for DLSS and AMD. The game loads new areas almost instantly, which, when we compared to the PlayStation 4 port, required a loading room for players to wait to get to their new destination. During these load times, Mimir would tell us stories of Norse gods to pass the time, but now you're frequently left waiting for dialogue to finish before the game can progress. Shut up, Mimir. Alfheim is ready. Regardless, the PC port will allow you to play God of War beyond 60 frames per second, max 120 frames per second, with 4 quality settings for different render solutions, pushing past what was even fathomable on PlayStation 4, plus sharper reflections and clearer ambient lighting. Sadly, the camera perspective is still too close to Kratos' back, and we do get some blurs here and there, but it does warrant another playthrough or a try if you've never played it at all. And finally, it looks like Stalker 2 will need 7 more months of development to fulfill its vision and desired state for the game. Developer GSC Game World took to Twitter today to announce their decision to delay the game until later this year. The postponement is due in part to allow developers to take as long as necessary to polish and thoroughly test the game, as Stalker 2 is the biggest project in history for GSC, and their hope is to ensure the game is fully prepared before launch. The fans are likely to be disappointed, as some have been waiting for almost a decade now for the release. It hasn't been an easy road for the game. Having been announced initially in 2010, then cancelled just a year later, the game has had a tumultuous development process since then, but GSC is hopeful the game can live up to fans' expectation, with more information, updates, and showcases set to come up in due course. Stalker 2 is now slated for a December 8th release, but don't worry, there are plenty of other Xbox exclusives coming in 2022 like Starfield and Redfall. In an interview with the New York Times, Kara Swisher, Xbox Executive Vice President Phil Spencer, was asked about the connection between gaming and the stark polarization of American politics. Spencer responded that Xbox is not a free speech platform and is by function first and foremost a platform for gaming and entertainment. During the Sway podcast interview, the conversation focused largely on the emergence of the metaverse concept and how Gamergate was used by some as a political tool. Spencer made it very clear that Xbox is not intended to be used in such a manner, stating, "We see all positives and negatives of the human condition. We have people who propose to each other and get married on Xbox Live. We also have conversations about politics and other things that happen. One of the things we've stated about our social network is we're not a free speech platform. We're a platform around interactive entertainment and video games, and we're not there to allow all kinds of social discourse. That's not why we exist." Spencer went on to say that Xbox is really set up for communities around interactive entertainment and games. That's the way Xbox invests, and that is the way it will be. When asked about moderation on the gaming company's platform and its comparison to social media companies like Facebook and Twitter, driven by ad revenues and other monetization models that were regarded to have poor moderation against hate speech and other types of harassment, Spencer said that gaming still has a long way to go. Regardless, Spencer seems firm on his statement and has a clear vision of how he wants to operate Xbox's platform. Moving on, 2 Los Angeles police officers were fired after they decided to chase a Snorlax and Pokemon instead of stopping a robbery in progress at a nearby mall. The report came first from Vice, with more details emerging from court documents. But it looks like 2 LAPD officers were on foot patrol April 15th, 2017, when a robbery was taking place at the Macy's in Crenshaw Mall. Both officers ignored the call at first, and then when asked to respond, they replied with no. After listening to the police car recordings of the conversation between the 2 officers, LAPD discovered they were playing Pokemon Go during the act of robbery. In the recording, one officer alerted the other that a Snorlax had just popped up in the area. The 2 proceeded to drive for the next 20 minutes to different locations, as a Togetic had also just popped up. After hearing one officer say, "Got him," the 2 agreed to go get the Togetic. The two officers later lied about playing the game, saying they were merely talking about Pokemon Go, but that didn't fly in court. They were recently charged this year with multiple counts of on-duty misconduct and were ultimately fired. They would try to later appeal their case, saying they weren't aware of the conversations being recorded and that their words should be considered private, which the court denied. Man, I wonder how Niantic feels about this. Maybe the real lesson learned here is to make Snorlax easier to get. And finally, Fortnite could soon host some of Paramount's most iconic characters, as the company signed a new deal with Epic Games to license out its intellectual property. According to a report by Xbox Error's Nick Baker via GameSpot, Paramount inked a deal with Epic Games to add more content to Fortnite very soon, starting with the heroes in Half Shell, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. With no confirmed date when TMNT will appear in Fortnite, it does raise the question of whether other characters in Paramount's arsenal could potentially appear in Fortnite in the future. TMNT is just the first tip from Paramount and Nickelodeon, but other IPs owned under the umbrella of Viacom CBS include the most recognized and highest sci-fi franchise Star Trek, the award-winning animated sitcom series South Park, and everybody's favorite fry cook who lives in a pineapple under the sea, SpongeBob SquarePants.
It's time to take a quick break, but when we come back, we've got some news on the end of Ben Affleck's Batman and the beginning of Robert Pattinson's. Stick around. Welcome back! Robert Pattinson's The Batman has received a PG-13 rating, leaving many puzzled about how the final product will look. But speaking of Batman, this year's Flash movie marks the end of the Ben Affleck version of the Caped Crusader. Let's find out a little more.
Well, it looks like we might be witnessing our last Batfleck performance in the Flash movie, as Ben Affleck states that he's looking to hang up the cape and cowl after his upcoming appearance. Now, speaking with the Herald Sun about the pressures of the role, he admits it led to an alcohol relapse and subsequently pulling out of his planned Batman solo movie. Now, Affleck also stated in the interview how the reshoots for the Zack Snyder Justice League film and shooting scenes for the Flash movie really put a nice finish on his experience with the character. Now, in fact, Affleck said in the interview with the Herald Sun that, quote, "My favorite scenes in terms of Batman and the interpretation of Batman that I have done were in the Flash movie. I hope they maintain the integrity of what we did because I thought it was great and really interesting. Different, but not in a way that is incongruent with the character." Now, production for the Flash movie is still ongoing, so who knows if his favorite scenes will be included in the final cut. But you know what? It's good to know he's satisfied with this being the cap to his Batman career in the spotlight. Or I guess in this case, the Bat Signal, which is a spotlight, right? The Bat Signal's a spotlight, whatever, man, y'all get it. Ben Affleck also stated in an interview with The Playlist that he'll be leaving big IP movies behind because he no longer wants to star in film franchises that have a sort of built-in audience based on the property. So I guess The Flash might be one of the last movies we'll see him attached to with a major following based on the name. Now, your desires and motivations as an artist, I guess, change over time, so, it's totally understandable. But I would love to know your thoughts on all of this. Comment down below. In other news, the Fallout TV series is beginning production this year, and Deadline reports that director Jonathan Nolan, not Chris Nolan, will be helming the series premiere. Now, you may be familiar with Nolan as the co-director of HBO's Westworld, and with the two properties sharing similar themes of a dystopian world, it's definitely a great fit. Still no word yet on the cast or plot for the show, but as soon as we learn more about the Amazon series, we'll fill y'all in. Speaking of Amazon, they recently dropped the first look at The Boys Season 3. Now, in it, we see Homelander and Starlight all smiles, despite the bloody and gruesome ending of Season 2. Now, not much else was revealed visually, but we did get a release date of June 3rd. After several trailer drops showcasing a very gritty and tonally different version of The Dark Knight on the big screen, Matt Reeves' The Batman finally received its MPA rating, leaving many to question just how hardcore the detective will actually be in this new outing. Now, according to the new bulletin posted by the Classification and Rating Administration, The Batman is officially rated PG-13 for strong, violent, and disturbing content, drug content, strong language, and some suggestive material. Now, some online speculated that The Batman would receive an R rating based on what we've seen from the trailers, but the move to make the movie a PG-13 movie shouldn't come as a huge surprise to fans, as Warner Brothers has a bottom line that they hope to achieve with every single superhero flick they put out, and that means making their films accessible to as many demographics as possible. Now, this is especially true now, given the box office drought due to the ongoing pandemic. Now, there's a lot of discourse online among fans about the PG-13 rating for the Batman, leaving many to wonder just how dirty Bruce's hands will get. Now, need I remind y'all that Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight, possibly one of the darkest Bat flicks to date, was indeed rated PG-13, so there's still a lot you can get away with. Not to mention in Tim Burton's 1992 film, Batman Returns, the Penguin bites off a man's nose, Catwoman dies multiple times, Christopher Walken gets a live wire shoved into his mouth, and Batman blows up a henchman with sticks of dynamite. And yes, boys and girls, that too was a PG-13 movie. Yeah, so while it's typically assumed that an R rating for a film of this caliber would mean it'll cater more to adults, possibly with more grounded and intense scenes, it doesn't mean it's impossible to do that very same thing within the confines of a PG-13 rating. Now, if anything's to be assumed by the trailers we've seen, it's that the Batman is looking to push it to the limit, the very limit, without crossing that line into R-rated territory. Now, 2019's R-rated Joker movie had some of us thinking we were going to get a Batman movie with a similar tone. Well, looks like that's not necessarily the case, at least for the theatrical release, that is. Who knows, maybe a director's cut of the Batman will give us that sweet, juicy R rating us adults are truly craving. I mean, it worked for the Snyder Cut, so you never know. Anyways, how do y'all feel about the Batman's PG-13 rating? Comment down below and let's discuss. Now, in other Bat news, Ben Affleck opened up about his sheer disdain for playing Batman while on set filming Justice League. Now, speaking with his bestest of buds, Matt Damon, on Entertainment Weekly, he talked about how unhappy he was filming and how Matt Damon actually got him to walk away from the role. Now, Affleck said, quote, "I talked to you, Matt Damon, about it, and you were a principal influence on that decision. I want to do the things that would bring me joy." But when you think of Batman, the word joy doesn't necessarily come to mind. There's some other ones that do, like pain, grief, despair, pretty much the exact opposite of the word joy. What, has Ben Affleck never read a detective comic? He should know this about Batman, man. Damn. Anyways, finally, Spider-Man No Way Home originally included some big Marvel characters, even bigger than the ones that traverse the multiverse, to turn up. Now, speaking with the Wrap, co-screenwriter Chris McKenna revealed that some major Marvel characters were removed from the script, saying that they were big, but almost too big for inclusion. Now, he said, quote, "It always became a balancing act of how do we tell not only a story with all these awesome villains that we know we want to bring into this movie, the classic ones, but also how do we make this still a Tom Holland / Peter Parker story so that he's not completely overshadowed?" Well, he unfortunately didn't reveal which villains or Marvel characters in general got cut from the film, but given everything we did get in No Way Home, I doubt any fans walked away from this entire experience feeling like something was missing. You know, it had everything we wanted, y'all. Marvel superhero America Chavez was supposedly considered for an appearance in Spider-Man No Way Home. Now, that's according to official concept art that has surfaced featuring Miss America alongside some familiar faces from the movie. A concept artist, Maciej Kuciata, recently tweeted out a series of artwork containing various scenes he worked on for the film, with the one in question featuring Peter, MJ, Ned, and other classmates at what appears to be a bumper car rink. Now, the superhero ultimately did not appear in the final version of the film, although there's no denying that she honestly would have made a perfect fit for the entire multiverse mayhem that was ensuing in No Way Home. I mean, after all, she has the ability to smash through the multiverse herself using her star portals. Now, the Marvel movie delays and subsequent reshuffling could have played a part in her omission from No Way Home, as her character would have already debuted in the Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness flick, which was initially slated for a November 5th, 2021 release window. Now that No Way Home was released before that particular movie and there was clearly no sign of Miss America in it, we can expect to see America Chavez alongside Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness when it releases later this year on May 6th. Now, what do y'all think of the concept art? Comment down below and let us know your thoughts. Now, in other Spidey news, Andrew Garfield spoke with The Wrap about how stressful keeping the big secret of him returning returning as Spider-Man in No Way Home was for him, saying, quote, "It was like this massive game of werewolf that I was playing with journalists and with people guessing, and it was very fun. There were moments where I was like, God, I hate lying. I don't like to lie, and I'm not a good liar, but I kept framing it as a game, and I kept imagining myself purely as a fan of that character, which is not hard to do. Not totally understandable. I get it, Mr. Garfield. Not to mention, I'm pretty sure, Marvel and Feige had that red scope pointed directly at Andrew Garfield's head just in case he decided to break NDA and let something slip. So, yeah, it's a good reason to keep the secret. And finally, if you've ever wondered what Robert Pattinson's Batman would look like going up against Jim Carrey's Riddler, wonder no more. Comedian Matthew Heighton used his super sharp editing skills to place scenes from the 1995 movie Batman Forever alongside scenes from the Batman trailer. Now here's just a small taste.
I don't care what happens to me.
Really? Hear everything they say, ain't you?
Now what y'all think of that? Does it work? Kind of weird, right? Yeah, personally I think Jim Carrey's way too animated to make it fit with the gritty feel they're going for with the new Batman. But you know what? It's fun to see a mashup every now and then, so shout out to Matthew for coming up with the idea and just putting it out there into the world. Now, that was good.
I'm Seth Macy, and that was your weekly fix. We'll be back here next Saturday with more of the biggest gaming and entertainment news of the week. See you then.